Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. I would like to tell you something, not that happened necessarily in the past week, although it did, obviously. It occurred in the past 12 hours, if not less. And it was interesting, because I was up doing editing a scene of Fallen Angels, and also working on a little bit of a Minecraft script that I've got going on that I've mentioned a few times, as one does, and I received a few Discord messages. So I checked the Discord messages, and it turns out that some of them are from Shorty, the artist formerly known as ItzShortieChan, and what they say is something like, "Oh, well, what scene did you want me to do in the Mutant Girl?" And I was confused because I didn't ask her to do a scene from the Mutant Girl. At least not that I recalled. It's like, okay, maybe I did by accident. What are you referring to? And I could tell, by the way, at the time she was in a call with Aiden and BB, and during those calls, which have happened quite a lot recently, ever since her now publicly announced a breakup with Polar. Oh, property, no public right of way, I've got to turn around. They've been happening quite a lot more frequently, and in those ones she gets a little bit fired up, let's say. So I can see that she's typing in all caps, and I'm like, okay, I had to think about this now, because obviously the motivation is there. But before I could come up with a proper answer, Aiden already had intervened. He was in the call, but I know he seemed to want to respond in the actual Discord chat. So then what he does is he posts one of the scenes that hasn't been assigned yet. Background information for the Mutant Girl. What we do now is that we have a server where one of the sections on there is where I place descriptions of each scene that's going to happen within the next episode, and that's for the editors to see. So anyone on the editing team can see what scenes are available to do, and thus they can pick something that will suit like what they're able to do at the time, what they want to do, or I don't know. In the case of a few people, it's always the one that's the shortest, which is fine too. That's why I put the time duration on there. You know, it's understandable. So that's there, and Aiden just picks one of the ones that hasn't been claimed yet by any of the editors, which happens to be the first scene, which also happens to be an audio recording that is 2 minutes and 40 seconds long. Now, bear in mind, at this point, Shorty hasn't done any Gacha editing for like at least the past year, and has suddenly expressed a random interest in the subject once again. And so I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's no way that she's going to sign up to that. And I was right. Immediately, she's like, I'm not doing that, sis. It's way too long and stuff. And I was like, but at that point, I'm also thinking, okay, so Aiden has jumped the gun here and doesn't quite know the context behind this, which is understandable because I myself do not know the context behind this at the moment. So, again, I'm thinking, what on earth is happening? But then it clicks for me. See, what I asked was, even though Shorty has not done any Gacha editing for the past year, possibly more than that, she's still kept up with all the Gacha voice acting. So it clicks in my mind that what she's thinking of is that we've added a new scene to episode 3 of season 3 of the Mutant Girl, because as it turns out, because it was split in movie format, there were only 3 scenes in the third act. And yeah, obviously one of them is 2 minutes and 40 seconds long, but you know, that only gets you so far. which, to be honest, I'm not really that opposed to anymore, considering how long it took to get that 28-minute video out, and also how I had to render it. I had to render it on a separate computer because the one that I have right now, for some reason, Vegas decided to crash if the videos are too long. I'm still running tests on that, by the way. So based on that, I'm thinking, okay, well, it would be nice to shorten down the episodes a bit more. It's great that one of these installments actually reached almost the length of half an hour, and that particular episode was about the length of the first 4 combined, maybe? Possibly 3 and a bit, I don't know. I haven't quite worked it out. But yeah, point is that, yeah, with 3 scenes, I guess, particularly Aiden felt that it was a little bit barren. As it just so happened, I had come up with an idea for an additional scene based on a mistake that William made that I had to correct in the previous episode. I'll describe more about that when it actually comes out, because obviously I don't want to explain the episodes here, because I have to do it in the server already, and I already run the risk of people figuring out spoilers just from the descriptions of how things actually go down. So yeah, needless to say, that's for later. So back to this. What I actually requested from Shorty was the lines that Raina has in that scene. So when I said need to do this scene, what I meant was do the lines in that scene. And so, I don't know, for some reason, even though I was saying like, oh yeah, do this scene, it's that, I don't know, she took it as a command to like edit it or something, despite not being on the editing team for the Mutant Girl, because, you know, I don't just like conscript people into that. People actually sign up. They offer to help. So, I don't know. Either that, or I might be like asking some more people to join, because Aiden's been doing that recently, and there have been some of them who actually have been making some of the new stuff. And it turns out that both the new people have actually dropped out. So once again, we've run into the situation I had with one of the other editors in the last episode, where I had to like invent swimming physics. So basically, it's weird. When the editors have shortcomings, that's when I innovate the most nowadays, which is a weird thing to think about. But yeah, all this ended up being a happy accident, because by the time that I realized the mistake, Aiden had already taken a short piece from one of the scenes, from that particular scene, which ended up being 15 seconds long, and had actually given it to Shorty to actually do. So, but I mean, even then I was skeptical, because it seemed like Shorty had sworn off Gacha completely. You know, there was no indication that she wanted to go back, and she seemed somewhat against it. It's kind of like how Natasha and Jay went off Gacha at the time, and then decided, okay, we're just going to do Minecraft now, because, you know, that's so much better. That's a much better option. I don't know. I don't get why people do that. So, thinking about it that way, I was like, okay, fine, there's no way she's coming back, and it just so happens she's become one of those other people who likes to voice act for Gacha, possibly, but doesn't want to do anything else. It's kind of like BB in a way, because BB doesn't like Gacha either, but yet has expressed curiosity on multiple occasions to where the Mutant Girls series as a whole is going. That might be because of Butterverse and lore purposes, but I hope there's also a degree of actual investment in the progress and evolution of the series over time. I don't know. Point is, it was that I didn't expect there to be much of a pickup, other than the fact that I guess there was like a random burst of motivation. So yeah, I'm still confused about that, but then, as it turns out, right down the moment, those 15 seconds ended up being done, completed. And, which, you know, got me thinking. Because actually, It wasn't like it was like, you know, a half-baked scene or something. No, 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 no. It just happens to be that was like a location change, and I should have put a scene break there anyway, but I'm used to writing longer scenes than Fallen Angels, which I'm going to stop doing from now on, hopefully. So I can actually separate the time durations. That's one thing that I myself can pick up on the Mutant Girl Evolution as a series, rather than just the stuff that came up in the stream, which will be done eventually when we get to the parts that haven't been recorded, other than that news scene. So, sorry, there's a train. I don't know. There was, but yeah, the scene itself, there was even a moment when Shorty brought out, like, the digital art and stuff, and actually, like, painted over a few of the images and stuff, which considering that the moving mouths and everything was still in effect, you know, I was very happy with. So, yeah, I'm, you know, oh, there's the echo. There's the echo of the tunnel. I was more than content with that, and actually, it reminded me, it harkened back to the days of Taming the Bad Boy, when one of the first good things that I said about the series was the fact that some of these screenshots were actually, like, digitally edited. It's not like they had, like, an issue with aspect ratio and stuff, so clearly, like, young Mimi had a knowledge of how to import and export stuff, or at least draw over it. I don't know. Doesn't seem like a Kind Master feature, because that's what was used at the time, because I could see the big watermark in the corner. Classic. But yeah, it was interesting because yeah, that was always like a staple. But yeah, the time before was actually, good grief, I have to explain this, don't I? The time before was when Yuki was actually put on a leash, and Cole tied that leash to the lamp. And so the actual art editing was the leash that was on the lamp. If you don't know, Taming the Bad Boy was a unique series, to say the least. Well, not unique by 2019 Gacha standards, but unique in terms of its craft, I suppose. So yeah, but this time it's just something as seamless as, you know, I'll spoil it a bit because it's going to be a while before the episode comes out. It's a curtsy. Moena curtsies and actually the skirt gets stretched, and there's like parts that have been digitally painted on to actually match what the rest of the Gacha skirt does, and it's a seamless transition. It's not like it's just like randomly appears there. No. It's actually like built in, and that was done super quickly. So again, not half-baked in the slightest, and clearly an evolution of the craft. And there's several things why this excites me in a way. Because there's actually Taming the Bad Boy Season 2, which came out way later, had a serious upgrade to its visuals. It was very surprising, in fact, because I don't know, there was a lot of ItzMimi-chan content that I wish I'd seen back in the day. There was like the Myosi's background series, which actually went on for a significant amount of time, and was actually almost equal on viewership to Taming the Bad Boy at one point. And yeah, I was trying to get into a moment when I could possibly convince Mimi to actually let me give that show a chance and, you know, do the classic reviews and stuff. But yeah, for a while actually, the ItzMimi-chan channel became just like Gacha shorts in a way, but it was 2019, so it wouldn't count as shorts. And also, it was still during the age of mini-movies, and a channel that became known because of mini-movies. And so that actually, ironically enough, the thing that's getting people the more views now, especially the likes of Aiden, which I'll discuss the YouTube Shorts thing in a second, that is doing well, actually was detrimental So it was a real surprise when the actual episodes came out. It was the first voice-acted series that Mimi had attempted, and it was spectacular as far as I've seen, especially in comparison to the first series, which was basically a series of screenshots, and also was admittedly rushed to make like almost daily posts in case, you know, the viewers decided not to return at some point, which unfortunately, because of the age-long break between releases, actually sort of did happen. If anything, I don't think any of the season 2 videos surpassed the hundreds, even though of views, that is, even though the first episode of the first season actually did reach 1 million at one point. So I don't know. Either way, the visuals themselves, they were they're so good, in fact, that that's what inspired me to ask for help in terms of the series of Puppy Love. And that was the idea behind that, was that I was going to do the writing, which was the part that I was far better at, especially back in the day. Like, people like to praise my visuals now because of how much I've progressed as far as editing goes. But back in the day, obviously during 2019, 2020 time, when season 1, season 2 of the musical were just, you know, were in their infancy, I was not very good at visuals, but I was good at the story part of the musical. I was nothing if not a writer first, especially during that time. So what that meant was, you know, that was my famous thing of, like, you know, work on the story to begin with, and then if you've got the visuals to support it, that's fantastic. It's kind of like what I say about, you know, when I reviewed Slaughter Apocalypse. That's what I was saying there about, you know, wasted story potential. But, you know, especially for screenshotted Gacha, very, very smooth and intricate and somewhat inventive. You could argue the same for parts of Adam Code Purple Remastered. I see that trend repeat itself quite a lot. But yeah, in terms of that, I was going to be on writing, and Shorty, or back then Mimi, was going to be on the visuals, and that was the combination. And we advertised it on both of our channels as a collaboration. It got a lot of hype. There were 80 auditions for that, which even, like, that's even, I think, predates a lot of the rise of Gacha voice acting itself and how that was going to go. So it really was a shame when, like, that's when the decline of Mimi's interest in Gacha actually started to happen, and then you know, productivity and release times, like, took a nosedive, and the whole idea of releasing everything during Pride Month just was shattered. So yeah, a lot happened between then, and but now I'm somewhat hopeful again, because from that 15-second edition, what Shorty said afterwards was that she actually enjoyed editing Gacha again. So I was like, why didn't you say that before? And the reason was because it only just occurred to her from that happy accident and that misunderstanding that she had any interest at all in continuing, you know, what got her to where she is in the first place. But also, even more excitedly, it seems that she's not going to change her content on her main channel. In case anyone was watching, you know, her Minecraft stuff now, that channel is going to remain Minecraft exclusive. That much is still the case. However, what she said was that editing Gacha for other people's stories actually that does motivated her. She wants to tell her own stories in Minecraft, but for other people, why not do Gacha? Which puts me in an interesting position. So on one hand, I want to shorten scene length and increase the counts for Mutant Girl episodes to see if I can actually add a bit more of a general split there. If anything, I've also, in that Minecraft script, I've debuted a method that I'm calling like the AB one. So in case there's some stuff that complements each other, and it can go back and forth between them, and they're cutting between different things. One person wanting to do that, they'll just do AB, and they can stitch them together. So in that thing, it's I go scene 6A, 6B, and then back to 6A, back to 6B, and that's meant to be stitched together in that order. It's filmed in AB style, so one shooting time of Minecraft, or possibly one Gacha editor, should one apply that same method. And it's also, but it's also when it's edited together, it's put in the order that it appears in the script, and it becomes one scene. So I've debuted that. So on one hand, it's exciting because of that for the Mutant Girl, but also because that opens the doors for puppy love once again. I haven't had a chance to speak to Shorty since that incident happened, because we all went to sleep. But now I'm thinking, I need to actually, I said last night, I need to talk more about puppy love, because maybe that method can somewhat return. Puppy love has some long scenes, and admittedly, back in the day, that's when I first got ambitious with visuals, because I knew that I wasn't responsible for them, at least at the time. And arguably, the fact that Shorty dropped out of that project actually is what prompted me not to make the visuals simpler and go back in the script and re-edit them, but to work out how I can actually do those same things myself. So if anything, my mindset of innovating and trying to improve my editing to match my own writing and visuals, which I try to instill now in others, is actually thanks to Shorty. So yeah, I gotta say that, but then again, nice to have her back on board, because I do very much, I still enjoy the writing process of this stuff in the same way, because Miss Devil was, again, someone who really likes to perfect her own visuals and such. So yeah, I need to talk, have some talks, expand that, and who knows, puppy love might return, or the Mutant Girl might come out faster. You never know. So yeah, just a brief thing about the YouTube shorts. As it turns out, for me, they're not working as well as they did for Aiden, which is fine. They did do at least something for me, and sometimes, depending on YouTube posting times, because I can check when people are most online, even if there's not my peak time of 10 when people are on for streams and such. I can note that, and then I can be like, oh, well, great. I can post then. So I've got more strategies to explore with that, but it does somewhat work, and I can confirm that. And Aiden himself, he got another 1,000 views on other shorties done, and some other ones have been in the hundreds and things. It's going through the early episode. People check out the series as well. So yeah, all in all, once again a very productive week, but only behind the scenes. Obviously, there's other stuff that's gone on since then. I mean, my updating of CVs and search for an actual job continues, but ultimately that's boring. You don't want to hear about that. So I've got to hear about the good stuff. I've got to hear about the successes, about the interesting anecdotes, and the deciphering of the mind of the artist formerly known as ItzShortieChan, which continues to mesmerize humanity to this very day. That's what you're here for. That's what makes Walking Wednesday somewhat interesting. Unless you're in my family, in which case you have no idea what I've just been talking about for the past 24 minutes, and I apologize. But, I don't know. You know what, weirdly enough, my family still watch these videos despite not knowing what on earth I'm talking about, so that must count for something. So yeah, I'm off back to have some talks about some things, and some stuff will be made. So yeah, please leave a like or dislike because your opinion matters, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And on that note, tonight I'll be reviewing some other Gacha stuff as well. I think I'm going to go back to the Guardians, and speaking of stories, I might look at the side stories which I can get access to the playlist for, and I shall see then if I can make... I'm back in the tunnel again. If I can actually convince Prism that those things are actually, you know, of worth. Because not just the Valentine's Day one. But I shall get to that. So yeah, like or dislike, subscribe, I've said all those things already, blah, 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 blah. And on that note, until next time, farewell.